Villains are the best. Without a strong opposing force to clash with our hero's ideals, games can feel lacking, the absence of something to overcome. I need a darkness so great that it makes the hero's light shine even brighter. But I love all types of villains. Goofy ones, cliché ones, sexy ones, conniving ones, tragic ones, or sometimes the villain might be staring at you in the mirror. There are just so many with interesting goals and motivations. Some are humanized, while others are purely hateable. There is such a beautiful variety, and I wanted to highlight the best of the best. Starting with a word from today's sponsor, Beyond Galaxyland. I was given a code, and I played roughly 2 hours into this, and the premise is something known as the end has destroyed Earth. Just moments after our hero, Doug, and his pet guinea pig, Boom Boom, are teleported to... you guessed it, Galaxyland. It's a collection of planets where a group of beings called Dream Corps are gathering creatures from across the universe to spare them from meeting the end. From the moment you're teleported to Galaxyland, you're met with several walks of life, and are immediately forced to get settled into your new home, while plotting a way to undo the destruction of Earth. Battle is turn-based, and you're met with foes that you can capture and use as your spells, and bosses aren't necessarily exempt from capture either. Beyond Galaxyland features classic turn-based capture and perfect timing mechanics, platforming, puzzles, gorgeous 2.5D graphics, and amazing music. Probably my favorite aspect because it's just that darn good. Wishlist Beyond Galaxyland now on PC, PS5, PS4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox Series X, S, and Xbox One, available September 24th. One last thing. A spoiler warning. I have listed all the games that will be mentioned in the description below, as this video will be riddled with spoilers. So if it's a game you plan on playing, you probably want to skip over that. You've been warned. Number 11. It's actually kind of crazy to play a game and not know who the villain is. The villain can win, and it has world-ending consequences. And you don't even know who to blame. That's what happened to me when I first played Persona 4 Golden. Adachi is one of Atlus's most beloved? Is that the right word? Let's just say iconic villains to this day. He's introduced as a textbook incompetent assistant cop to your seasoned uncle detective. He's painted as the comic relief, threatening to vomit if having to investigate a crime scene, making goofy jokes, and he seems to be a bit of a slacker. Immediately, he's portrayed as someone who couldn't possibly be throwing people into TVs and then being killed the next foggy day. No way. Even his face. Is that the dorky face of a killer? Yes. Adachi is the puppeteer of it all. Namatame, a key piece in Adachi's scheme, was manipulated by the man himself. Namatame went to the police after witnessing 2 homicides from within the TV world. Of course, this sounded bizarre and nobody would believe him, except good old Adachi, who told him to put anyone who had heavy media coverage in a safe place where nobody could find them. What safer place is there than the TV world? Of course, Namatame didn't realize pushing them into the TV was exactly what was killing them. To sum up Adachi's life, he was a constant failure, never good enough, and landed a job as a copper, constantly berated by his boss. So when he got this magnificent power, the power of Persona, and threw people into the TV, it livened up his otherwise shitty life. It was his manipulation that had him murdering folks, and seemingly accidentally leaking police information to the Inaba gang. Although that was his mistake, saying too much, something that only the Inaba gang and the killer would know. There's a point in time where you have to guess who the killer is. And here's the catch. You get 3 tries, and if you, the player, cannot piece together the carefully laid out hints the game gave you, the gang throws in the towel. Fog consumes the earth, and get this, you're not told who the killer is. The game will continue as normal, each day becoming foggier than the last until it's time for the MC to go home and the world is smothered with fog and ends. That's it. Or, if you do find out it's Adachi, Golden added this fun little route known as the Accomplice route, where you destroy the only shred of evidence you have against him, betray your friends, and enjoy a life being Adachi's bitch. Number 10. I ask you, what is better than defeating the villain? Being the villain, of course. Duh. But you don't know it. NieR is a game about a father who wants to save his daughter, or in NieR Replicant, a brother who wants to save his sister Yona from a disease known as the Black Scrawl, which has no known cure. In the very beginning, NieR is fighting endless hordes of shadows to protect his sister. Monsters known as shades come in droves, but with the power of the book, he's seemingly able to hold his own. Fast forward 1,000 years, and NieR and Yona live happily in a small village. It's a very strange cut, but mostly fine. Yona still has the Black Scrawl, and her brother takes on odd jobs to get her medicine and continues looking for a cure. In a twist, a figure known as the Shadow Lord comes to whisk Yona away. But what's strange is why? And more importantly, why the hell does the Shadow Lord look like you? In a fun Yoko Taro twist, there was a project to separate humans from their souls, as humans were dying off from a condition known as white chlorination syndrome. Pretty much turn into salt or become a member of the Legion. Long story short, become a minion of God from a different dimension. So, in order to not deal with this, again, humans separated their souls from their bodies with the help of 2 books, Grimoire Noir and Grimoire Vice. The soulless bodies are known as replicants and the corresponding souls are gestalts. Okay, what does this all mean? It means that the first NieR we saw is the Shadow Lord. He was the first gestalt, or soul, that was a success, or so it seemed. From records found in a secret laboratory, he wasn't so stable after all, and because other gestalts were made with his data, they too were corrupted. So what happened was the replicants, the bodies, gained self-awareness, and the gestalts, also known as shades, the things you've been killing this entire time, are going berserk. And during your first playthrough, they garble at you, just generic monster sounds. But your second playthrough, they speak. They are the souls of the original humans, and you're killing them. And you find out the reason why the Shadow Lord took your sister, the replicant, was to unite her with her gestalt, to save her, while you're trying to get your Yona back, not giving a fuck about the bigger picture. And frankly, it doesn't matter anyways, because there's no way to reunite her with her body, as you destroy Grimoire Noir, one of the books needed to put back body and soul. Essentially, you damned humanity. And that, my dear children, is how we got one of the greatest games of all time, NieR Automata. But that's not here nor there. The entire game, you're fighting the original selves of humans of thousands of years ago. You effectively cause the project to fail, you kill the Shadow Lord, Yona will die anyways, as will the rest of humanity. Great job, champ. Number 9. Speaking of being a villain, this was a first for the series. Arguably, I guess. You could say one of the other characters was an anti-hero. Not like my girl Velvet Crow from Tales of Bersaria. I love me a classic tale of a character being sweet, good-hearted in nature, and being royally fucked over by someone she considered family. Velvet's story begins as a kind young woman taking care of her younger brother Laphicet, her older sister Celica, and her sister's husband Artorias, aka Arthur. On a scarlet night, a night where a blood-red moon makes monsters appear, Celica dies. Velvet does her best to keep it pushing when on another night, Laphicet and Artorias go missing, and she finds Artorias killing her younger brother in a ritual. Naturally, she fucking McLoses it, trying to have at Artorias, who cuts off her arm and replaces it with a demonic one. She slaughters all the surrounding monsters, which aren't monsters at all, but townfolk. She's captured, put into a dungeon, and fed monsters which are absorbed by her demonic hand. She has turned into a Therian, a demon-eating demon. After 3 years, she escapes. Velvet is consumed by hatred. The monster in her has arisen, baby. She only cares about one thing: vengeance. Parading Artorias' head on a pike for taking her little brother from her. During her escape, she has her first run-in with the Abbey, a holy order ran by none other than her dear brother-in-law, Artorias. And she don't care. She lays them to waste and gets up out of there. Velvet may not be pure evil, but she's not a good person. She is consumed with emotion, playing into Bersaria's clear themes of logic versus emotion. The Abbey is very pragmatic and orderly. Velvet is messy, she's angry, but when her heartstrings are tugged, she can give grace. An example is fighting Dial, a human-turned monster, and was forsaken by his guildmates. On the flip side, it doesn't mean she won't consume you or commit atrocities like destroying pillars that keep malevolence at bay, protecting the general populace solely because the person who put them there is the target of your ire, and malevolence, for the record, is a substance that turns humans, or seraphs, into demons. And of course, we can't not talk about the painfully poetic scene of Oscar and Teresa, the half-brother-sister duo of the Abbey. Teresa loves her younger brother more than anything, knocking out Oscar, who was prepared to battle Velvet. And, you know, Velvet was more than willing to walk away, but Teresa pushed the issue and fuses with the demon and becomes a monster. She's defeated, Oscar wakes up, tries to avenge his sister, dies. Teresa wasn't dead, wakes up, freaks out, tries to attack Velvet, Velvet kills her. It was like, damn, Velvet really killed Teresa's younger brother in front of her eyes, and where did that happen before? Velvet Crow is a great dynamic villain, and perfectly gets what she deserves. Number 8. What's interesting about this next villain is, to this day, people still debate if this character's a villain or not. Clearly, they made it on my villains list, so you know where I stand. Edelgard from Fire Emblem Three Houses. It was my first Fire Emblem and my second route. While I'll forever be a Blue Lions girl through and through, I can fuck with Edelgard. She sees a corrupt system and she wants to break it and begin anew. You start off as her professor and it seems harmless enough. Mock battles, having run-ins with bandits, everything is fine. In between story battles are gatherings of shady characters, one named the Flame Emperor, who seems to be colluding with the other two. Well, in a surprise turn of events, the mask slips off, and well, who the heck do we have here? From there, all hell breaks loose, and if you were smart enough to talk to Edelgard at a specific point in the story, you'll end up joining her cause, to conquer the land of Fodland and bring forth a new set of ideals. She wishes to dismantle the status quo, the world that is ruled by crests, essentially blessings from the goddess that gives power to those who have them, such as magic or inhuman strength. Crests are passed down through family lineage. However, not all crests are hereditary, as there is no guarantee that a descendant will receive one. Pretty much, nobles are typically the only ones with crests, and it's easy to keep it that way because they're also powerful. Of course, if you're born without a crest, the chances of you being anything great in Fodland are slim to none, as the crestless can't hold a candle to the crest-born. This also led to resentment of highborn but crestless children. A younger sibling with a crest will supersede an older crestless sibling. Crestborn children are often used for marriage proposals, hoping to birth more blessed children. And the list of problems with a crest-obsessed society goes on. Point is, Edelgard ain't having it, and she wants to dismantle the system as a whole, to allow people to rise and fall due to their own merits. And so it goes with any monumental continental change does not come without sacrifice and bloodshed, declaring war on a church that keeps the system in place. She is so set on her mission, she even collaborates with those who slither in the dark. People who experimented on her and many others in the Empire, in attempts of creating crests, giving her another reason to hate the damn things. She is a woman of admirable conviction. Should you side with the actual best side, Blue Lions, she serves as your final boss, and is even willing to tap into forbidden magic to secure her victory. Even at her bitter end, she never wavers. But personally, what makes Edelgard particularly special to me is she's not evil. She doesn't take joy in this, but she acknowledges the path she has chosen is one of great loss. If she wants things to change, she has to get her hands dirty. She knows people will see her as evil, the villain, the monster, while seeking equality for Fodland's people. That, and I like that we get to see a human side to her. She's afraid of rats. Her friends have nicknames for her. She has normal, lighthearted conversations with her teammates. I think typically we see villains only doing villainous things, which naturally makes them easy to hate. But with Edelgard, I like to see that she's just a person with grand ideals and the power to make them come true. Number 7. This villain is from a cult classic. Nobody talks about this game, but when they do, people come out of the woodworks. And of course, I'm talking about Eve from Parasite Eve. It takes place in good old New York, baby, and things quickly heat up for our main protagonist, NYPD Aya Brea, taking a date to the opera where the singer starts singing and everyone spontaneously combusts. The singer, Melissa, gives chase and Aya hustles after her. And that's the entire game, chasing around this mutated woman who's causing chaos around Manhattan. Melissa, also known as Eve, clearly had some kind of connection with Aya, insisting that she should be awakening soon, and seems surprised that she doesn't recognize her. Aya is constantly hit with visions of a surgery room or a young girl in a hospital gown, seemingly connecting her to this mutated woman. So Aya is the only one who can pursue her without bursting into flames. And yo, shout out to the game for giving a reason why Aya has to tackle this problem alone. An ordinary being near Eve, she's able to excel the growth of mitochondria, which are living organisms attached to every cell. If mitochondria can provide an excessive amount of energy or heat at once, ta-da, we get spontaneous combustion. Or sometimes it's goop. In some cases, she mutates animals, hence why Aya gets to fight freaky rats or bears. All the while, Eve preaches about how mitochondria's day has finally arrived. Eve continuously goads Aya, looking forward to when her cells can finally rebel against their host and take her over. In fact, she even suggests working together. Now, I enjoy a villain who has a personal connection with the protagonist, even if they don't know it yet. From the opera, Aya has always been drawn to Eve. Even if she doesn't remember her, Aya's cells do. Even after rejection from Aya, Eve is gonna do what she's gotta do, which is steal some genetically enhanced sperm and give birth to your nephew, the ultimate being. Of course, she doesn't make it easy considering her cells straight up take over others. So how do you fight something on a cellular level? She's just a really cool villain, from designs to her motivations, her fights. The one on the horse carriage is iconic, and I just love the kind of lunacy of what she does. Literally getting herself pregnant to give birth to an ultimate being that is to lead the era of mitochondria. Number 6. And speaking of mothers, one of my all-time favorites. No, not Mother, I mean Mother from Wild Arms 1. I think this is a villain who actually gets forgotten about a lot. She is fantastic, both her and her child Zeke, to be honest. Firstly, Mother is the mother of the metal demon race, and has an insatiable appetite for death and destruction. A very simple woman. And then we have Siegfried, or Zeke for short, who is the leader of the Quarter Knights. Their mission is to revive Mother and take over the land of Filgaia and rebuild the metal demon race, since they lost their home of Hades. However, in a twist, Mother destroyed their world, and she has no plans of conquering Filgaia. No, she wants to destroy it, then destroy the next world, and the next world. Like I said, simple woman. This upsets Zeke, and he plots against her, using the protagonists to defeat her. The heroes cut off Mother's power supply, and they win, and Zeke is thrilled. Fast forward, the group is now fighting Zeke, he's defeated, and he gets sucked into a black hole that leads him to the throne room, where Mother once lied. He hears the sound of something creeping toward him, inching closer. When it's revealed, Mother still lives and consumes her own son, taking eating their own to a whole other level. This is the type of villain I fucks with, from afar. She's consistent across the board. She cares about one thing: destruction, destruction of worlds, destruction of her kids. She don't care. She don't discriminate. Mother is unhinged. There is something incredibly sinister about a mother killing her own child. And I especially love the villains crossing villains dynamic. One wants to rule Filgaia while the other wants to destroy it, and is even responsible for destroying their past home world. And from Zeke's perspective, imagine reviving the one who took your home from you. That's crazy. And if Wild Arms ever got a remake, I would love if we got DLC from Zeke's perspective, the world that was destroyed. Mother and Zeke are both amazing villains. Mother reviving herself through her child and becoming mother-freed, cradling a baby that resembles Zeke. And the audacity, right? She essentially killed her son and now she wants to start acting like a mom? And the final boss, Zeke Tuvai. His will was so strong, he shook off Mother and came back with a vengeance as the final boss. Zeke's unshakable will and Mother's love for death are both forces to be reckoned with. Number 5. Fair warning, you're about to notice a trend here. But to be a villain, you don't really have to be evil as much as you have to believe you're right. You can have good intentions, but you know what they say, the road to hell is paved with those. It really all began with Breath of Fire 1, defeating Tyr, or as she's more commonly known, Miria, a goddess who grants wishes. Essentially, there was a war between the Dark Dragon Clan and the Dragon Clan, and they were fighting for her power. And Miria ate it up, like, fight over me, fellas, I love the attention. However, the Dragon Clan sealed her away and was like, nobody gets her. After sealing her, the Dragon Clan decides to hide away and live in peace. However, Zog, a member of the Dark Dragon Clan, decides to stir things up and once again try for Miria's power. She is released and you can get 2 endings. The true ending is with a spell you reveal her true form and defeat her for good. Or the bad ending, if you fail to get the Agni spell, you fight her in her human form and it's revealed she still lives. Which brings us to Breath of Fire 3. 2 is about her offspring or whatever. I like to believe in 3, she is back, baby, and way more interesting. Miria is an overprotective mother, yes, another mother, and hastily separated the world into 2 parts. The outer region, where the notorious Desert of Death lies, and life is pretty barren, and the inner region, where life is good, life is peaceful, life is lifing, and these lands were parted by a massive ocean. But she didn't stop there, she took even more countermeasures. She feared the clan known as the Brood, or we could say the Dragon Clan, as she had beef with them for centuries. Knowing how great their power is, she feared that they may one day destroy the world. So she preemptively committed genocide. Knowing how great their power is, she feared that they may one day destroy the world. So she preemptively committed genocide. She created guardians to lead her crusade, convincing her followers the Brood was evil and to be feared. Successful, she slaughtered them all and very few escaped, although it's said they allowed themselves to be killed, refusing to use their power, otherwise they very much could have destroyed the world. So yes, They chose the world over themselves. So not only did she commit genocide, but she also stole away and brainwashed your dear childhood friend, Tipo, who you're separated from at the very beginning of the game. Tipo shares Miria's point of view and remains in Eden, a green, peaceful, warm, and inviting cage. It's a place where Tipo, a member of the Brood, and Ryu, the protagonist, could safely remain for the rest of their days, under the overzealous goddess's watchful eye. And you have the option to take him up on that. But if you don't, you sadly have to put down one of your own. Miria is a criminally underrated villain whose heart is arguably in the right place, wanting to preserve life. However, she judged, feared, and slaughtered an entire race of people because of their power, despite them not seeking to destroy the world, even though they have the power to do so. She indoctrinated your best friend, and even at the very end, she believes the denizens of the world are unable to care for themselves, and they need her protection. She dismisses your party's concerns, but ultimately they come back to put an end to Miria's tyrannical protection. Also, wild fact, how fitting is it for someone who committed genocide to have a move called Holocaust? Number 4. Y'all knew this one was coming! Everybody's gonna be expecting some Final Fantasy VI on this list. Nay, fam. But y'all know your girl gonna be talking about some Final Fantasy IX. Kuja, baby! And before y'all come for me, it's not that Kefka isn't a great villain, but Kuja is my boy. And it's my channel, my list video, so Kuja it is. Kuja is an excellent villain for the story that's told, poetic even. Imagine creating weapons, some which turn sentient and have a short lifespan. They're dolls, puppets, used for a single purpose. And then you come to find out the puppeteer, the one mass producing these weapons, inciting wars, is also a disposable puppet. That is Kuja in a nutshell. It's no secret I'm in love with characters with an inferiority complex, to fight the odds to show that they're better, and if they are, then he'll try to bring everyone down to his level. Final Fantasy's theme is about life and what you do with your limited time with it. Kuja just fits so beautifully within that context. The creator of Kuja, Garland, was tasked with another planet's survival, Terra, and after a failed attempt with trying to absorb another planet's crystal, Gaia, he created an Angel of Death, Kuja, to incite wars. However, Kuja wasn't necessarily complete. He was hastily made as a grown adult and never developed a wide range of human emotion. Essentially, he would never be able to achieve a state of trance, which is a flood of overwhelming emotion. By his creator, he was dubbed a failure, and Garland set out to create another Angel of Death, our protagonist Zidane. However, Kuja grew jealous of Zidane, dare I say felt inferior, and abandoned him on Gaia. And when Garland caught wind of this, Kuja was exiled from Terra. The kicker of all this is, Garland put a time limit on Kuja's life, as he was really just a stand-in, while he perfected the true Angel of Death. After encouraging all this destruction and acting as a weapons dealer, all this death by his hands, he too finds out he's expendable. And looking back at his life, all he did was foster death. And ironically, the true Angel of Death, Zidane, saved lives, changed lives, fought against Garland and Kuja's machinations. Near the end, realizing that he too will die, through this truth, he descends into madness, which allows him to finally achieve transcendence. Alas, it's not enough to overcome our heroes, but it is still an impressive feat for someone who was never meant for greatness. And in a tear-jerking end, Kuja uses what little power he has left to teleport Zidane and his friends to safety. And this is so meaningful because his entire life was taking life, not saving it. And in his last moments, realizing what it truly means to live. And at the end, looking back, saying Kuja's life wasn't worthless, even if he felt like it was. That Kuja used his last moments of this world making a difference in someone else's life. Without him, the cast wouldn't have made it out. Alas, his final good deed doesn't take away from all the horrors he's inflicted on Gaia, but it does make him one of the more incredibly unique, tragic, and complex villains I've come across. Number 3. And next we have a piece of shit. They're very hateable, and that's a good thing. I fought many a villain, and yeah, they're evil, but rarely do I have this burning fuck you energy toward them, you know? But for this asshole, I did. From Earthbound and Mother 3, Porky Minch. In Earthbound, he's bad alright, constantly a jerk to you, progressively getting worse and worse. From asshat down the road, to cult leader, to helicopter stealer, and just a constant thorn in your side. The last time you see him, his mind is warped. He has now declared his allegiance to Gygus, a giant evil alien. Now when you fight him, you see his skin color has changed, leaving you to wonder if he's acting under Gygus' influence, or just evil gone eviler. I personally like to believe that he's in control of his own mind. I think it makes Porky more hateable knowing all of his actions knows are his own. During the fight, he even insults the one he sides with, calling Gygus an almighty idiot, as Gygus no longer has a mind because it was crushed from his own awesome power. He's just a mindless entity of evil. Throughout the battle, Porky pops in to taunt you, but this taunt is his one good deed of the Mother trilogy. And yes, I know he isn't in Mother, the first game, but still. Because his taunt of telling Ness and friends to cry for help, call for their mommy, that's what they do. And all the people you've helped along the way send their thoughts and prayers, and voila, it saved you. And while it's the end of Gygus, it's certainly not the end of Porky, who flees, and that brings us to Mother 3. For me, this is where Porky's villainy hurt. Before, he was kinda fun to hate. That kid always getting in your way, making things more difficult for Ness and friends. In Mother 3, you play as Lucas, younger twin brother to Klaus. The two are in a loving family, and while never explicitly mentioned, the reason why Lucas's family was quite literally torn apart is because of Porky. Porky is on a whole other level of evil here because it's personal. Again, for the majority of the game, it's never stated it's Porky. But on the night Hinoa, a loving mother, is supposed to return home with the kids after visiting her father, the pig masks light up the place. The path to home is set ablaze, and this starts a chain of awful events to this beautiful family. The children lose their mother to a roboticized dinosaur that moments ago was playing nice with the kids, which prompts the eldest twin to seek revenge, only to get himself seemingly killed. But oh no, there are things worse than death, and Porky Minch snatches up Klaus's body and turns him into the very thing he sought to destroy. He becomes a roboticized thing. And that's not even the worst of it. Listen, Porky does a lot of shit behind the scenes, but I want to focus on the personal aspect. In the final confrontation with Porky, this man gives one of the most disgusting, despicable, infuriating, unforgivable monologues. This shit stain of I can't even call him a human being. This thing has the ballsack to speak so disrespectfully of your fallen brother, calling him a monster, an it, almost a person, a slave robot. That right there, bitch, are fighting words. I don't know how other people felt in the very beginning of this game. I was Lucas. This was my family. I had it all. I had 2 loving parents, an amazing relationship with my sibling, and a dog. Ugh. But I was rich in family, and this man destroyed it all, and is now talking shit in front of my face. I know I'm sounding extra, but this battle was immensely emotionally charged. And let me tell you, when this motherfucker escaped in the absolutely safe capsule, which pissed me off at first. This is a capsule that protects one from every manner of danger. However, whatever enters it can no longer leave it. And in a clever twist, the absolutely safe capsule protects whatever's inside it, and consequently, whatever's outside of it. And now, an immortal Porky must live inside it for eternity, alone. And I remember admitting this is a clever and fitting ending to Porky. And we circle back to some things are worse than death. Imagine living for an eternity. You have no one to talk to, you will never eat your favorite foods, you can never play video games, you cannot procreate, you will be dehydrated, you'll be hungry, you'll be sweaty, you'll be fatigued, you'll be stuck in a pile of piss and shit, and you won't die. Porky Minch is an incredible villain, not only because of his actions, but how his actions make the player feel. Many people tend to forget the why, but they certainly remember how they felt when done dirty. And despite playing Mother 3 over 5 years ago, the feelings I had while pursuing this asshole still burn as strongly as when I first embarked on the pin-pulling adventure. Number 2. Here's one you've all been waiting for. One of the most psychopathic villains comes from Suikoden II. I've met some pretty twisted individuals in my time, but Luca Blight knows how to leave an impression. Imagine joining the Highland Youth Brigade as a youngin'. Treaties are about to be signed, we're on the cusp of ushering a new age of peace, and your commander and Prince Luca Blight have the Highland Army slaughter the Highland Youth Brigade, claiming it was a neighboring city-states, all to justify war. I'm telling you, this is the best opening of a JRPG ever. Naturally, nobody believes the 2 lone survivors, and Luca starts his conquest. And he's just brutal while doing it. One of the most iconic scenes in JRPGs to this day. Not only is he cruel, but he's, well, victorious. Any town or state he wants, he gets. You are forever on the defense, on the run. He just doesn't let up. Even behind the scenes of war, he could laugh at his father being murdered, collapsing in front of him. He's so evil that even his own people want him gone. Of course, they say nothing. The only way you manage to bring down the tyrant is from an anonymous tip, detailing Luca's route, and it's only after ambushing him with arrows, fighting him not 1 or 2, but with 3 parties, do you whittle him down to half health. And you finally put the nail in the coffin with a duel to the death. You cannot fumble here or else prepare to do it all over again. One of the strongest elements that makes Luca Blight so memorable is he's just a man. He's not enhanced, he's not a god, he's just an exceptionally powerful man. Number 1. Listen, all I'm gonna say is if I was a god and my creations forgot who the fuck I was and who created them, I might act up too. Okay, I'm partially joking, but in every joke there's a little bit of truth, am I right? Zanza from Xenoblade Chronicles. So it's a lot more complicated than I made it out to be, but essentially a scientist wants to create a new universe and succeeds, but is not unscathed, as half of his body is sucked into this new universe where he is known as the Bionis. And Maynith, his co-worker, got caught up in it all as well, and is known as the Mechonis. They fight and end up in a stalemate and rest. Life flourishes on the Titan that is the Bionis. He created homes. Life was good, however, he made no effort to connect with those he created. He didn't walk among them, befriend them, he just kind of expected their worship, cause, well, he's a god. And it was due to his creeping loneliness and understandable fear that his people may one day leave him to find new worlds, and thus he created a vicious cycle of destruction and recreation, never allowing them to excel and evolve. He wanted them to die, as all life had to return to the Bionis. Now, while he was resting, he stored his soul in the legendary, possible future-seeing sword, the Monado. And here's where his villainy really starts to kick off. He possesses Arglist through the Monado, and he tries to lead an attack on the Mechonis, but failed. And what's so sad about this is before Arglist was possessed, he was close friends with a Mechon named Egil, and they both wanted peace between the people of the Bionis and the Mechonis, even wishing for folks to one day leave their gods and venture off to find new worlds. So he possessed the giant, who essentially preached of peace and leaving Zanza. Of course, Egil doesn't know he was possessed at the time, so when he sees Arglist leading the genocide of Mechons, Egil is consumed with hatred and vengeance. And this is seen in the initial attack on Colony 9. So not only does Zanza keep wars going, destroys friendships, and is the reason that both Arglist and Egil die, he tricks Shulk into freeing him while still being in possession of Arglist. Although Arglist dies within the same scene, his disciples, Dixon, Alvis, and Lorithia, hold down the fort until he was to return, aka when the proper host was prepared for him, aka Shulk, which Zanza had been chilling in since he was a boy. In fact, Zanza is the reason why everyone at an expedition past, Shulk and his parents, who discovered the Monado, died, because he sucked the life force out of them and hid himself within Shulk, and Dixon knew that with a wicked smile. And then we have the High Entia, which should I say Telethia. My man Zanza planned ahead and gave the High Entia a Telethia gene, which turns them into beasts of destruction. They live to kill. And it's sad because there were good Telethia folk that didn't deserve such a gruesome fate. Zanza is awful, seeing life forms on the Bionis as bacteria, breaking families, friendships, inciting wars. He's done it all. You should absolutely check out Xenoblade Chronicles, because not only does it have the best villain, but also is one of the best JRPGs of all time, period. It's so good, I actually reviewed it twice. If you're feeling nostalgic, you could check out my review not only of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, but also my review of Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii. Also, once again, thank you Beyond Galaxyland for sponsoring today's video. Available on PC, PS5, PS4, Nintendo Switch, Xbox Series X, S, and Xbox One, September 24th. As always, I appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Mwah!